What's going on, everyone? Coach Aaron here, back in another video to help you dominate a platform. Today we're going to break down the different options that you have for knee sleeves where you can get the best bang for your buck. So let's get right to it. Alrighty, what's going on, my powerlifting people? Thanks for tuning in to another video. If you are new here to this channel and you don't know who I am, my name is Aaron Khamesi. I'm a powerlifting coach, athlete, referee, and meet director. So I make videos here on this channel to help out those groups of people. It looks like recently I just hit the 400 subscriber count. So thank you all for subscribing to the channel, helping me break that 400 barrier, checking out my videos, dropping likes, leaving me comments, all that kind of stuff. I really appreciate it. And thanks for those of you sending me messages with different questions and topics you would like for me to discuss here on this channel, because it always gives me a list of ideas that I can build videos for what you guys that are watching actually want to see and hear. All right, so thank you all for, again, subscribing, liking, commenting, whatever you're doing to help me out. I really appreciate it. Today we're going to build upon the powerlifting budget playlist I'm putting together. If you haven't seen it before, you can always go check out my playlist. I'll put the link for it above and I'll put in the description below. But we're going over different pieces of equipment, and maybe even after we finish all the equipment, we'll go into different areas like hotels, flights, registration, and different things like that, where you guys can save money and still get the most out of your money that you are spending to enjoy the sport, be safe, get stronger, all that kind of stuff. So today we're going to go over knee sleeves. We're going to go over all the different options you have for knee sleeves, the different prices, which ones that I like, which ones I would say avoid, all that kind of stuff, to make sure you're getting good knee sleeves that will last long, that will give you support, and that you will be allowed to wear in the competitions you're trying to actually compete in. So with that said, the first thing that you want to look into is what type of competitions you're going to be competing in. Not only right now, but also looking toward the future, because the knee sleeves may last you a while, so you may not be just looking at the next competition. Maybe you want to look at the next year, next 2 years, and if you are going to go to a higher level competition, then you want to maybe look at the approved list for whatever federation you're competing in. So for example, for me, competing in USA Powerlifting at a local level competition, it just has to meet the specifications outlined in the rule book. So for example, the thickness, the length, the material, it just needs to match. It doesn't need to be a specific brand or a specific type of knee sleeve within that brand. It just has to meet those specifications. But as you go to higher level competitions, for example, a national championship or a world championship, then it has to be on that specific IPF approved list. And if you compete in a different federation, then you may need to look at your USPA approved list, or if you're in another country, you might want to see how that country is enforcing that IPF approved list down each level of competition. So if you do want to go to like a national championship next year and you don't have a knee sleeve yet, then maybe you just want to get the IPF approved list knee sleeve right now, so you're prepared for it. You don't have to buy a cheaper option now, only to find out you have to buy maybe a more expensive option later, and you could have just bought that more expensive option to begin with. If you're only going to do local competitions, you never feel like you're going to go to a bigger competition, maybe you're just doing like unsanctioned gym competitions, all that kind of stuff, then you can just stick with the cheaper option if you want, and maybe they'll fall apart quicker and more easily. But since they're cheaper, you could just buy a new one, and then you'll always have a newer, tighter knee sleeve that's not falling apart on you every 6 months or 9 months. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go over to my computer, we'll take a quick look at the IPF approved list, and then we'll start going over the different options as far as what to avoid, expensive options, cheap options, and what I recommend. So let's get right to it. All right, so I'm over here on the IPF website, and if you go over to the rules, codes, and info, you can go to the first one, approved list, and that's where you can see the most up-to-date approved list. So here you can see approved list valid until the end of 2022. And it even says here updated October 1st, 2020. So you can click on that and you can go through and check out what brands are on there and which ones have knee sleeves. So for example, the very first one, you see SBD, and you see they have the knee sleeves, weightlifting knee sleeves, and here they have the old option knee sleeves and then the new options that they've come out with. Then you have all these other brands, Alico, Rogue, A7, Unbroken Design, Stoic, Ray-Ban, Titan. Inzer list the knee sleeve on here, but I went on their website and I couldn't find it, so I don't know if it's coming out later on, but they do have some knee sleeves here. You have the metal knee sleeves right here, but you can see that it's kind of like highlighted, and there's a note here that it's only valid to the end of 2021 due to some issues with the company and the owner and things they said, so they're losing their contract. So that may be something that you want to avoid, or if you do have knee sleeves from metal already, you may want to look into getting new ones. And then you have some other ones here, Bukia, Strength Shop, Super Training, and that's it. So these are the options that you have from the different companies, and then within each company there's different variations as far as maybe the type of knee sleeve they have, the color, design, all that kinds of stuff. So let's first go and check out Amazon. And so what I did is, okay, what if you just went to Amazon, you just typed in knee sleeves? What are the things that come up? What are the things that you should avoid? So when it comes to meeting the technical specifications, there's gonna be, like I said, a certain length, a certain thickness, a certain material. I don't have any knee sleeves with me here in my room. I actually don't own any knee sleeves. I gave them all away. I'm not really a fan of knee sleeves, but I do have an elbow sleeve here that you can kind of look at. And so you're gonna have some kind of length to it. The maximum is 30 centimeters. You're also gonna have some kind of thickness to it. The maximum is 7 millimeters. And then you're also gonna have a certain type of material, and that's gonna be that non-supportive neoprene. So those are the things that you want to look into for all these options from all these different companies. Wherever you're looking, you want to make sure that you're getting that maximum length, 30 centimeters, that maximum thickness, 7 millimeters, and then getting that good quality non-supportive neoprene. Okay, so if you're getting some kind of smaller thickness, then it's maybe not going to be as supportive. If it's going to be a shorter length, then it's maybe not be as supportive. And if it has some other kind of material, like these right here, or some kind of different material, these are not going to be allowed. Anything that has any kind of weird brace to it, like over here, those are not going to be allowed. If they're too long, like this one looks like it may be too long, it's not going to be allowed. Anything here with like a Velcro strap that sticks in, or any kind of buckle or anything like that, is not going to be allowed. So those are the things that you want to watch out for and avoid. If the knee happens to be like an opening on it, like more of a brace, then those are not going to be allowed either. So when you go in, like this one right here, so when you go through like Amazon or a site and you're just searching knee sleeves, there's a lot of them that are going to be maybe for just like general fitness, maybe for running, maybe for other sports, and they're not going to be as supportive. They may be cheaper, but they're kind of like tricking you that way because you're not getting as good material, you're not getting as good support, and they're not going to be allowed in competition. The ones that you do want to look for are the ones that, again, like Ray-Ban here, but this one is like 5 millimeter thickness, so it's not going to be as supportive. This one right here is 7 millimeters, and you see it says neoprene and it says for powerlifting. So this one would be allowed in the local level competitions where they're not enforcing IPF approved list, but for higher level competitions, it would not be allowed. And with all these, you can see that they're cheaper prices, but you can go check out the reviews and see if they're actually good quality or if they kind of fall apart, that kinds of stuff. You'll see some IPF approved brands, like you see the Ray-Ban above, and you see the Stoic right here for $67. You see 7 millimeter thickness, neoprene sleeve. All right, and then if you go and you just type in maybe more specific and you go powerlifting knee sleeves and see if you can get some more specific stuff, then you'll see some of that junk stuff that you should avoid goes away, and then you get more powerlifting specific, getting that neoprene 5 or 7 millimeter thickness, and then somewhere around that 30 centimeter length. So you get some better options here as far as for powerlifting. You get your slingshot strong sleeves over here, you got iron rebel over here, so you get some better options. You'll see maybe in some of the sleeves a common design. So you see this design here where the seams are going around the side, this one with the Pro Fitness, this one with the Mava, same thing here with the sponsored one. They're very similar also to like the old Mark Bell slingshot knee sleeves, and I believe some of the Ray-Bans look like that, the old Ray-Bans. So you can kind of see they're all like basically the same design. They may get it from the same manufacturer, just put their own name on there and sell it for a cheap price. But what I've noticed with these is they're just a little bit more flimsy, they're not as supportive, and they can fall apart at these seams, especially on the back end. They can fall apart more easily. So you may be paying a cheaper price, 20 bucks, but they may fall apart on you more easily. It may not be as supportive. It may slide down on you or feel loose, that kinds of stuff. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that kind of style, especially if you're just going because, oh, it's a cheaper price, I just want to spend 20 bucks on it, rather than paying up for a better quality knee sleeve. So like this one's $18, but it may not last as long as, let's say, just like this slingshot knee sleeve over here, that is $83. So just continuing on what to avoid, I just went on some other powerlifting websites like here on liftinglarge.com, is be careful of these 2-ply or even 1-ply knee sleeves or elbow sleeves, as these are not neoprene, they're different material, and they're even saying that they're 1 or 2 plies. And so you want to avoid these, as they're not going to be allowed in competition. What you want to look for are these other options here if you went on liftinglarge.com, and these are the neoprene ones. So you have Titan here, you have the strong sleeves here, you have the older Titan ones here. You see how this design is very similar to the ones on Amazon. And so you have more Titan ones here, different variations, the different variations from slingshot as well. So those are what you want to look for. You want to avoid these 1-ply or 2-ply options. And you'll see that as well on Inzer's website. Like I said, I couldn't find their knee sleeves here on their main page, but you want to avoid these XT knee sleeves where they have basically it's knee wraps that are kind of like sewn together, and then they have this little strap to tighten it. So these are not going to be allowed because they're not the neoprene material, and also they have these Velcro straps that are not allowed. So those are things that I would say avoid. Avoid going to the cheapest options on Amazon or any other site. Avoid anything that's 1-ply, 2-ply, Velcro, any kind of brace in there, any kind of plastic, any kind of open hole for the kneecap. Those are things you want to avoid. So now let's go into what we do want to look for and what I recommend. And I like to recommend the IPF approved list options because one, a lot of people do want to move up. So if they go to like a regional championship or a national championship, they already have the knee sleeve prepared. And in general, the companies that are spending the money and the time to get on the IPF approved list are also going to spend that time and money effort into their knee sleeve to make sure they're making a good quality sleeve that you're going to buy. Especially because the knee sleeves are not the same as like a belt that's going to last you 10, 20, 30 years. The knee sleeve you're going to have to buy again and again. So if they put out a crappy quality knee sleeve and get on the IPF approved list and then try and just take your money off of that first sale, they're only making so much off of the $60 to $100 knee sleeve, but then you're not going to buy from them again. You'll go to another company and eventually they're not going to be able to continue their revenue to pay that money for the IPF approved list plus whatever other costs they have. So they're going to put more effort into a quality knee sleeve, staying on the IPF approved list each time they have to renew their contract, and putting more effort into continuously improving their knee sleeve, maybe improving their design, the material, all that kinds of stuff, so that if you do ever buy new ones, you are getting a better quality product, and you know you are going to always have that IPF approved list where basically it covers every single competition you can possibly think of, including the different federations. So based off of that, let's go from the top end price and let's work our way down to what I see as like the bottom end price for a good quality IPF approved list knee sleeve, and I'll give you my thoughts on each one. Like I said, I don't use any knee sleeves right now. I gave all mine away. When I first started, I didn't use knee sleeves either. I think maybe my first 4 or so competitions, I did not use knee sleeves. Remember, this is not a mandatory piece of item like the singlet, which we did in the last video. The singlet, you have to have it to compete. The knee sleeve, you don't have to have it to compete. So one option obviously is don't buy knee sleeves, just compete without them. If you don't have any issues, you don't have any knee pain, you don't need that warmth and that compression of the knee sleeve, then maybe you don't spend the money. Save it for now, focus on the singlet, maybe invest in a belt first, and then look into those other things like wrist wraps and knee sleeves. But if you do need knee sleeves, that's what we're gonna do here, is gonna go through different options and give you my thoughts based on maybe what I've tried out, what I've heard people tell me about the knee sleeves, and what I see as far as the construction and design and whether I think it's worth it for you. So the first one I have here as the top of the line, the most expensive price, is again the SBD, which is similar to like the belt and the singlet. So they have this option here for a knee sleeve that's $82.50. They have a new weightlifting knee sleeve that's a little bit more stretchy, and that's gonna be $90. And then they have their new Eclipse line down here that's also gonna be $90. So that $90 price is basically gonna be your top of the line price for a IPF approved knee sleeve, and then also this $82.50. You can kind of group that together as top of the line. And this is where you're gonna get, again, you're gonna get the IPF approved. It's gonna stay IPF approved. You're gonna get that maximum as far as the specifications, so that then 30 centimeter length, that's 7 millimeter thickness, the good quality neoprene material, and you're gonna get this good construction of the seam too, the spiral seam, that's not gonna necessarily bother you behind the knee, or it's not gonna fall apart, that kinds of stuff. So here's gonna be your top of the line option if you're someone who says, okay, I wanna maybe put the most money into knee sleeves and maybe save money on the singlet or belt or something like that. Since there's not gonna be as big of a difference in the top to bottom knee sleeves compared to, let's say, the top and bottom belts. So I'm just putting this out there that if this is something that you wanna look into, this is your option for the top of the line. So let's start working our way down now. The next would be Mark Bell's Slingshot. Okay, they have various sleeves, but just in general here, the strong sleeves are one of the go-to ones, and those are $83. And then their newer one are these Extreme X knee sleeves, which are $87. So that puts you in line with those SBD $82.50 and $90 option. Here you have an $83 and $87. But what I would personally say, again, from what I've used, which I've tried out the SBD knee sleeves before, what I've heard from people, all that stuff, is if you were going with these top options, I would take the SBD over the slingshot, because I've heard things about the slingshot sleeves, wrist straps, and other things that may fall apart a little bit more easily. They're really about maybe advertising about, oh, it's gonna put 50 pounds on your squat, but it doesn't actually put 50 pounds on your squat. The neoprene material is not gonna do that. And so if you're gonna pick between those two options, I would say just go with the SBD knee sleeves, because you know what you're getting, especially that they're gonna maintain the IPF approval, whereas with the slingshot knee sleeves, you don't know if they're gonna maintain it. They've had some issues in the past with trying to get something approved and then it doesn't get approved, that kinds of stuff. So we will X that one out and we'll go to the next one. Next one is gonna be from Titan. That's gonna be $75. They have a couple different options that they use to have a yellow option, a black option, and this is the newer option. So this will get you one step down. It's not gonna save you that much money. And so that's why I'd say, if you're gonna spend $75, you might as well just go spend the $82.50 for the SBD one, because again, I think people like the SBD one better. I don't think anyone finds any kind of special support or anything from this little X seam. And then they don't have a picture of it here, but the back side is a seam that goes right down the back of the knee. So it's hard to tell over here, but that seam right there goes right down the back of the knee. And what I've heard from some people is when that seam goes right down the back of the knee and down the leg, it kind of feels uncomfortable in the bottom of the squat. It kind of squishes there between your calf and your hamstring and your knee. It feels weird. Some people feel like that squishing back and forth kind of maybe has the seam fall apart more easily. So that's why I would say, again, if you're gonna spend $75 for a knee sleeve, just go get the $82.50 SBD one and avoid the Titan one. So we will X that one out. Next, you have this from lift.net. You have the Stoic knee sleeves, and these are $60. So now we're going another step down. Again, they're gonna have the maximum length, the maximum thickness, all that kinds of stuff. But what you'll see as I go through these pictures to try and get the back one is, again, this has the seam that goes down the back of the knee. Again, I've heard people say it's uncomfortable and sometimes it can fall apart more easily when it's down that back of the knee. So maybe something that, again, you wanna avoid. If you're gonna spend the $60, maybe look into, okay, if you're gonna spend $60, do I wanna just go up and spend $82.50? Or if you don't wanna go up and spend $82.50, maybe go to one of these other options that are similar price or cheaper that are gonna be the better construction for the seam of the knee sleeve. So we'll X this one out, we'll go to the next one. And that's gonna be our A7 knee sleeves that are gonna be the same price. So they have these $59.95 and these different color options. Again, you're gonna get the maximum length, the maximum thickness, the neoprene material. You're gonna get the IPF approval, all that kind of stuff. But I think these are a little bit better as far as the construction. From what I see and from what I've heard, is that the seam is on the back, but it's not right down the back of the knee. So that doesn't bother you as much, being on the side of the legs and not being right on the back of the knee. And because there's two seams, you're also gonna get maybe a distribution of the stress between those seams a little bit better, and so they won't fall apart as easily. So I think, from what I've heard and from what I see, that these are gonna be a little bit better as far as the construction. So you can see here how it goes down the sides and it doesn't go right down the middle of the knee. And you're getting the same price as the Stoic and a better price than like the slingshot and the Titan option. So I would say if you're gonna fall into this middle range and you're willing to spend $60, then just go with the A7 option. All right, next up, we're gonna go to Unbroken Designs. And so you can see here that their regular price is $65 US, but they sometimes have sales. So this one right here, if you wanted this design, is $50. So now we're going from that $60 down to $50 if you find one that's on sale. If they're not on sale, then you have to pay the regular $65. I don't really know anyone that has these, and I've never tried them on or anything like that. But what I would say is, from looking at it, again, this design with these seams coming to the front and either touching or just being a little bit space in between is very similar to what we saw on the Amazon, the various options, very similar to some of the original Ray-Ban ones, very similar to some of the original slingshot ones. And I think that was kind of everyone's like go-to knee sleeve as like maybe a cheap base design, where then they can have their company design and logo on it from wherever they're manufacturing it and then basically sell it. So I think this is a cheaper price that all these brands are getting and basically trying to sell a basic knee sleeve. So I'm not sure, but I would think maybe the construction of this one is not going to be as good with the seam going down the back. Okay, so you can kind of see it there, and the seams in the front might start tearing as well. So again, if you're gonna spend $65, you might as well just go with the $60 A7 one, which I think is better construction. and I believe they'll stay as an IPF approved brand longer than I would trust maybe Unbroken Designs. And if you want to go on a sale one and get 50, okay, maybe you're saving 10 bucks, but do you really want this design? And maybe do you want a lower quality product than just spending the $10 extra to get something that you know is going to be better? So I personally say avoid this one, so we're going to exit out. But what I will also mention is that Unbroken Designs also has a Canadian website. So if you are a Canadian watching this, then you can always go to their Canadian page, check their prices out there, compare it to other Canadian companies and websites to maybe compare the prices, and maybe it'll be slightly different. So if you want to look at more Canadian options, if you happen to be out there, is you can check out Inner Strength products, and you can see here that they have the SBD knee sleeves, they have the Ray-Ban knee sleeves, and they have different options for those. As well, if you want to go with the Titan knee sleeves and check out those prices, you can look at Strong Arm Sports. And then as well, if I go back to the A7 real quick, is you'll see here they have an A7 Canada. And if you happen to be watching this from another country, you can see if they have one that's close to you and see what the prices are there to do your own comparison. I'm just using the US prices since that's where I'm based out of, and that's where a lot of my viewers are based out of. So we'll X this one out and we'll go to the next one. And these are the Strength Shop knee sleeves. So these are $45. So these are the cheapest that I can find that are gonna be IPF approved and that I believe will be good enough quality for you. So at least compared to the Unbroken Designs where you're only saving like $10 from the A7 one, at least with this one you're saving $15 from the A7 one. And since knee sleeves are something that you have to buy multiple times, at least you're saving $15 every 1 or 2 years, something like that, however often you have to buy knee sleeves. And so you're at least getting a good discount there. And I believe that these are better quality and better constructed with the seams going down the outsides of the knee. So it's not going down the back of the knee that's gonna feel uncomfortable and maybe tear more easily. They're gonna go down the sides of them, which I think is gonna be a better design. And just like with the other ones, you're gonna get the 7mm thickness, the 30mm length, the IPF approval, and you can see here it even says IPF approved, and it's also approved for USPA. So as far as the cheaper option, I will put this $45 one there as the best thing that I could find from going through and looking at all the different companies and what they have to offer for the US with the US prices. If you want to go one step lower, you have the original Ray-Ban knee sleeves that I've seen people wear maybe 10 years ago, but people don't wear them as much anymore as they've shifted more to these other brands, whether it's Strength Shop, Titan, A7, SBD. But you can go on somewhere like Rogue or even here on Amazon, and depending on what size you want, they have different prices here. So you may be able to get a cheaper option than the Stoic. So this one says 45. One of the options is 39, so maybe you find something for $39. Here you go for mediums, or maybe it'll be on sale somewhere, you get $35. So you may get a cheaper option than the Strength Shop here, the $45. You may be able to get it down to 39 or 35 or whatever you find out there. But again, I'm not a fan of this seam going down the back of the end. From even when I've heard people wearing the Ray-Bans way long ago, it's not as good quality as far as how long it holds up. And again, those seams, so this seam in the front, I've seen people say that kind of like tears away. Not even the seam itself, but the neoprene tears off from the seam. So then the neoprene is kind of just floating in this little jacket, whatever they have on the sleeve that kind of covers it. And also in the back with all these different seams over here and stretching in the back of the knee, kind of feels uncomfortable and it can fall apart from there as well. So the neoprene starts tearing away from the seam, and then basically it becomes less and less useless and more flimsy. So you can go with this if you want to go with a super cheap option of IPF approved, but I would say personally avoid it and just go for a little bit more. So spend the $45 for the Strength Shop, or if you want to go for the higher options I went over, you can go with the higher options. All right, so if we have our SBD as our top option at that $82.50 and that $90 option, you can take one step down and go to the A7 $60 option, or you can take another step down and go to the Strength Shop $45 option. Those will save you money, but also you'll get that IPF approval, the maximum length, the maximum thickness, the good quality neoprene, and you're gonna have good construction as far as the seams and everything that I can see. And I've heard good reviews from other people that have tried out these knee sleeves. From there, it just depends on how much money you wanna spend. If you're gonna go to higher level competitions where they're gonna enforce the IPF approval list, what color you want or what company you wanna support, and that kind of stuff. Depending on what country you are, you wanna go look at the prices for your country and also look at the shipping prices prices, as maybe a really big shipping price could change the difference between 45 and 60. The gap might close if one shipping is better than the other. So some things that you have to go research on your own and figure out what the situation is for you specifically on where you live, where you're going to be competing, and what you like. But hopefully that helped you out. You can go check out the Powerlifting budget playlist to go check out the other stuff I have in there as far as belts and singlets. And then I'll be continuing this playlist going into wrist wraps and other things, like I said, as far as like hotels, flights, how to sign up for competitions to save money, and things like that, so you guys can get the most bang for your buck here in the sport of powerlifting. So as always, if you liked it, give it a like, subscribe to the channel so you can stay tuned to this series and the other ones that I have going on. You can check out all the different playlists I have for squat tips, bench tips, programming tips, and just powerlifting tips in general. Other than that, I hope you guys had a good week and you're gonna have a good weekend, and I'll see you next time.